Call to order. I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Marin Wildfire Prevention Authority Board of Directors of Thursday, June 18th, 2026 to order. So we need a roll call. Martina, will you please call the roll to ensure we have a quorum?
Certainly. And then I did want to just inform the board that this afternoon that Director Catherine Jones does have a qualifying just cause reason under Brown Act. I do not see her in our remote attendees log so far, but when she does, I will announce it so that we can invite her to the meeting. And proceeding with our roll call, starting with Bolinas Fire District, Director Molesworth. For the city of Santa Fe, Director Kurtz.
Here.
For the city of Larkspur, Director Way.
Here.
For the county of Marin, Director Rodoni.
Here.
For Inverness, Director Donahue. For Kentfield Fire, Director Evergettis.
Here.
For Marinwood, Director Shea.
Here.
For Muir Beach, Director Murray. For Novato, Director Goins. For Sleepy Hollow, Director Finn. For the town of Corte Madera, Director Andrews.
Casisa
Director
here.
Casisa, my apologies, sir. For Stinson Beach Fire, Director White. For the town of Ross, Director McMillan.
Here.
For the town of San Anselmo, Director Schlesinger.
Here.
And then for the town of Fairfax, Director Kohler.
Here.
And for Southern Marin Fire, President Director Hilliard.
Here.
And so far that is, we do have roll, we do have quorum present. Until Director Jones arrives, we can take the affirmative vote. We do not have to do roll call at this time.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Agenda adjustments. Do members of the board or staff have any agenda adjustments?
Good afternoon. Yes, we do have one agenda adjustment. Due to physical limitations, our team that was going to present the biomass studies unable to present today, so we'll need to pull that agenda item for today. Additionally, and Bruce Goins was one of the members that was going to present. He thought that perhaps the executive committee would be a more appropriate committee to present this to allow for some deeper conversation. July 2nd would be the date for our next exec committee. We can easily schedule that, but I just wanted to take a straw poll of our exec committee members who would actually be present for July 2nd. If we can't do it on July 2nd, then we can easily move it to the August exec committee.
So,
Yes.
and so those who will be present, could you raise your hand?
So if Bruce is available by July 2nd, then we would have 4 of the exec committee members available. So we'll see. We'll progress as needed.
Julie.
And Julie, okay, so that would give us a total of 5. So we can track for that direction.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Are there any other agenda adjustments? Seeing none, we go to item 4, open time for public expression. The public is welcome to address the Board of Directors at this time on matters not on the agenda that are within the jurisdiction of the board. Please be advised that pursuant to the Government Code Section 54954.2, the board is not permitted to discuss or take action on any matter not on the agenda. Comments may be no longer than 2 minutes and should be respectful of the community. Please silence your cell phones during the meeting and mute your microphone when not speaking. Are there any members of the public present or online who wish to make a comment at this time?
There are no hands for comment at this time. I did want to inform the board that Director Jones has arrived for our meeting. I will go ahead and attempt to bring her over remotely so that we can admit her for this afternoon.
Okay, welcome. All right, so we are moving on to item 5,
Not just yet. So, good afternoon, Director Jones. Welcome to the meeting. I did just want to go ahead and ask if there was anyone present with you over the age of 18. Director Jones, can you hear us okay? There may be a little bit of a technical difficulty, so we can move on.
There is no one present with me over the age of 18.
Perfect. Thank you, Director Jones. And so to inform the board, Director Jones is here under a qualifying reason under the Brown Act. Childcare proposed a barrier to in-person attendance for her this afternoon. And if it pleases the rest of you, we can admit her. We will need to do the roll call vote moving forward.
Thank you and welcome. Item 5 is the Executive Officer's Report, which is always an oral report. So Executive Officer Mark Brown will provide the staff report for this item. Mark.
Good afternoon, board members, and I'll pull up the PowerPoint real quick, and I'll be brief. The fuels outlook, I pulled up like I like to do, the 100-hour, 1,000-hour fuels, which to me gives us a good indication of what type of fire behavior we might expect. And they're right at historic averages. So think about fire seasons that you've seen in June, likely what we would expect to see now. We do have a little bit of lightning that's coming into the state, the very north portion of the state. So we'll see if that generates any ignitions throughout the state, and we can play that. We can obviously sit back and watch. The lightning isn't predicted to come down here this far south into the state. After today's meeting, you will all be receiving some correspondence through me from Jean Bonander about strategic planning, laying out the timeline, laying out the results of the survey that she sent out to the board, and actions of the operations committee completing some of their strategic planning prior to your strategic planning, so you could have the results of the operations committee to help inform the board's strategic planning. So after today, you will now that you know that I'm sending that email, I wanted to let you guys know, and then I'll send you that letter that Jean has drafted. And I wanted to give a shout out to Fire Safe Marin and our Firewise team. We now have 93 Firewise communities here in Marin. The latest 2 is one from Lagunitas Road in Ross, and the other is in San Rafael. Remember the name of the new Firewise community? More to follow. We'll get the name of the new San Rafael Firewise community. And then this picture here is, I didn't realize that there was an old fire station at Stanford, but this is the old fire station at Stanford. I was asked to participate with the Moore Foundation and UL Research Institute in evaluating all the new fire propagation models that are coming out. When Marin Wildfire started, there was about 3 different models that predicted wildfire propagation. And they only predicted wildfire propagation in the wildland. None of them predicted wildfire propagation through the built environment. We evaluated 28 different models. So in 7 years, we've gone from 3 to 4 models to 28. And it was a very interesting exercise. Some of them were focused on the wildland environment. Some were focused on WUI. Some were focused on the built environment. And some really interesting models out there, some interesting data that can be acquired from it. But it was a general consensus of that very large group that there probably never will ever be one model that we use, that we should actually be using an ensemble approach with our models. And it was interesting. There was one model that said this, and there was a model that said the exact of this for the exact same area in the exact same conditions. And you might think that that's a bad thing. But actually, when we dug into it and we saw what parameters this model was using compared to what parameters this model was using, it was actually really informative for how you would think about mitigation for that particular area. So just because a model says something different than from another doesn't make it wrong, doesn't make it better. But if you dig a little deeper, you might actually get some more information from that. And had they been perfectly aligned, we wouldn't have done that deep dive into what was driving those differences. So I think we actually learned more by having those differences. And then the strategic action plan for the next administration on wildfire resilience is another document I'm going to send you folks. This was driven by the Resource Legacy Foundation and some other groups to get a subject matter expert group together, ponder some of the wildfire resilience challenges that the next California governor and her administration will need to tackle, and provide some thoughts. So I was able to participate in that conversation. So some of Marin Wildfire's experience is kind of embedded into that document. And so I'll forward you that document. It's only like a 4 or 5 page document and really pushed out in bullet points. And finally, the transition to San Anselmo for our finance has started. We had our initial meeting. The finance team is excited to come on board. I think they're in the same way that we had good alignment of personalities between Southern Marin Fire and Marin Wildfire. I think we have a similar alignment of personalities and style of work. And again, the Southern Marin team, the 2 ladies that you've met via Zoom during our meetings, are professionals, and they are driven to be able to close out their end of the work and deliver a clean and professional package over to San Anselmo so that we can transition seamlessly. So I feel very comfortable with where we're going at that. With that, I'll stop my screen share and take any questions.
Are there any comments or questions? I have a comment. Congratulations on the number of fire-safe neighborhoods. That's really a major accomplishment.
To give context, when the 2018 lessons learned document was written, based on the 2017 fires, the goal was to get to 20 fire-wise communities. Just to give you that context.
93. Okay, that's great. Yes, Tom.
I got an email this afternoon from the California Wildfire and Forest Resiliency Task Force. It was their June 2026 newsletter. It said they reached the milestone of 1,500 fire-wise communities statewide. So our 93 constitutes 6.2% of all fire-wise communities in the state. And I think our population is probably about 1% of the or less of the population in the state. So we're outperforming.
Per capita, that's
Yeah.
awesome. And it's Haywood Terrace Homeowners Association in San Rafael that we added. That's something that our residents in Marin should be proud of, because Firewise Communities is a resident-driven action.
Yeah, Director.
I helped the Lagunitas new Firewise committee get off the ground, but really the lion's share of the help was from Stu Tannenberg, and he did a great job shepherding them through the application and what was required. And when my neighborhood applied to be a Firewise community, I think it took us about 2.5 years. It was partly during COVID, but it was partly there was no one really to turn to. This Lagunitas Road group formed and was approved probably in about 6 months. So that was really terrific.
That is amazing.
Any other comments? I have a couple. Okay, first of all, evaluating our fire flow with 28 different models, does that mean that we have all those in our toolbox, but that it's site specific, what model we use?
And so Marin Wildfire is not at the moment using all 28 of these models. This was a group of nationwide subject matter experts that were brought together to Palo Alto last week. So we are using approximately 3 or 4 of the models that were part of the 28. I don't know if I envision us ever using all 28, but just to give you an idea of how much interest there is in creating modeling within our environment now.
Well, that's wonderful. The other comment I have is regarding our audit. Okay, as the transition to San Anselmo, I spoke yesterday, I was at Finance Committee meeting at Southern Marin. They will have our audit by the latest, the end of August for the 24-25 fiscal year. And then we will be on time, on schedule for the next audit. So,
Excellent. Thank you.
yeah, sure. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, I will move on to the consent calendar. Item 6, the opportunity for public comment on consent calendar items will occur prior to the board's discussion of the consent calendar. The board may approve the entire consent calendar with one action, and the alternative, the items on the consent calendar may be removed by the board or staff members for a separate discussion and vote. I will now take public comment on the consent calendar. Are there any members of the public present or online who wish to make a comment?
I see no hands at this time.
Thank you. Okay, do any of the board members or staff wish to pull anything from the consent calendar? Director, yes, go.
I just want to make a comment that I sent some comments on certain items on the consent calendar and thank staff for getting back to me and Megan. There was a change in the conflict of interest code based on some feedback. So with that, I would like to move the consent calendar.
I have a motion. Can I get a second? Second, from Director Evergettis. We have to do this roll call. Yes? Okay, will you please call the roll?
Great, and that was a motion by Director Kohler with a second from Director Evergettis in favor to approve the consent calendar. Director Molesworth? Not. Director Jones?
Aye.
Director Kurz?
Aye.
Director Way?
Yes.
Director Rodoni?
Aye.
Director Evergettis?
Aye.
Director Shea?
Aye.
Director Finn?
Aye.
Director Hilliard?
Aye.
Director Casisa?
Yes. Yes.
Director Kohler?
Yes.
Director McMillan? Director McMillan?
Yes.
And Director Schlesinger?
Yes.
And the motion passes with unanimous vote of all in attendance.
Thank you. The motion passes then. All right, so we are now moving to item 7, action items. Fiscal year 2023-24 audit. Mark Brown will provide the staff report on this item. Mark, it's all yours.
Well, actually, I'll introduce Ahmed Badawi from Badawi and Associates for our audit, and just mention that we are extremely late, as you saw in the staff report, and we do have a letter from Chief Tubbs explaining the delay. And as Director Hilliard pointed out, the audit for 24-25 has already started, and we are on track to getting that done in time. And then we're also working out the details for the 25-26 audit, since we'll be closing out 25-26 very soon, and getting those roles and responsibilities ironed out between Southern Marin Fire and San Anselmo. And with that, I'll pass it off to our auditor.
Wonderful. Good afternoon, and thank you for inviting me. My name is Ahmed Badawi, and I was the partner on the MWPA audit for fiscal year 2024. Allow me to share my screen. I have a presentation for you that will walk you through the audit process and the results. So I will go ahead and share my screen.
Sir, are you getting perfect?
Yeah. Are you seeing my presentation now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Let's start here. Right. So this presentation is for the Marin Wildfire Prevention Authority, and this is for the 2024 audit of the MWPA. I'm going to cover here the agenda. I'll let you know a brief overview of our firm and the engagement team. What were the deliverables and the scope of our audit? Brief overview of our audit methodology. Some of the areas of primary audit risks that we identified. The type of audit opinion we issued, and some of the numbers in the financial statements in summary. Provide you some of the required communications as your independent auditor, and also a brief overview of the new accounting standards coming your way. So I'm going to start here with the firm and the engagement team. This is our firm by the numbers. We have about 25 years of experience. We are a specialized firm working mostly with governmental clients. We work with about 19 or so special districts. Many of them are fire districts. We have about 30 employees. And so far, knock on wood, we have 0 lawsuits, legal or disciplinary actions against the firm. For our engagement team, this was the composition of our engagement team. I was the engagement partner. We had an audit senior and 2 professional staff assigned to the audit. And in terms of the deliverables and the scope of our audit, we were mainly engaged to provide an opinion on the authority's basic financial statements, also prepare the annual financial transaction report, what we refer to as the SCO report. And this is a report submitted electronically to the State Controller's Office regarding the annual financial transactions. And then finally, communications with the governing body, which is what I'm doing today. And we also issue a letter summarizing that communication. A brief overview of our audit methodology. The audit is really done throughout the year, over 4 phases. Planning phase normally start sometime in February or March, and it's an information gathering phase. And then we move on to a risk assessment phase that normally happens sometime in the summer, focus more on the processes and internal controls. Then the year-end phase that focus on validating the numbers in the account balances. This usually occur sometime in October, November, and then the reporting phase where we issue the financial statements by the end of the calendar year. This is the normal schedule. This is hopefully the schedule that we're anticipating fiscal year 26 will follow. But just wanted to give you that just overview of the methodology. As far as primary audit risks, these are some of the risks that we identified. Those are pretty standard risks in most of our audits. So the risk of management override of control. Obviously, management is normally responsible for designing and managing those controls and overseeing them. So they can be in a position to override them. And we design our audit procedures to mitigate that risk or reduce it, just making sure that we assign more experienced staff to more complex areas, that we incorporate an element of unpredictability, that we make sure that the accounting policies are consistently applied. And then we test information provided by management, whether it's journal entries or accounting estimates or accounting for any unusual transactions. So these are just some of the procedures that we perform. Another area that we are required by auditing standard to consider it an area of a higher risk is the revenue recognition. So we rely heavily on confirmation. We confirm and validate Measure C taxes, for example. We also, any grant revenues, we agree to back up, and we perform analytical procedures comparing the revenues to the budget, comparing to prior years, and investigate any unusual fluctuations. And then finally, journal entry posting, the risk of journal entries not being independently reviewed due to the size of the organization. So we do an expanded journal entry testing to verify the accuracy of the journal entries. As far as the auditor's report and the financial statements, so we have issued our auditor report, and the report normally would state the standards that we followed. In this case, was the generally accepted auditing standards. We have issued an unmodified opinion. And an unmodified opinion that means that we believe the financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects, that all accounting policies have been consistently applied, all estimates are reasonable, and that all disclosures are properly reflected in the financial statements. Wanted to also just provide you a very brief overview of the numbers in the financial statements. This is a summary of the assets over the last 3 years. And obviously, as expected, this authority mostly is basically raising funds through Measure C and eventually expending those funds. So mostly cash on the balance sheet on the asset side. On the liability side, just accounts payable, vacation and sick leave liabilities, the compensated absences, and labor, the accrued payroll. And numbers are fairly consistent over the years. Again, here, change in net position, some fluctuations based on the Measure C revenue when it started and the spending of it. And then here, looking at the net cost of service to tax revenue. So again, looking at the revenue that the authority is bringing in versus the cost of running the operations. And I mean, it fluctuates year over year, but their tax revenues are consistently increasing. So just wanted to give you that. These numbers are straight from the financial statements. And then if we were to just focus on the general fund by itself, the idea here is to look at the unrestricted portion of fund balance and compare it to annual expenditures. And it's about 6 months worth of expenditures. So again, decent fund balance, I would say. The last part of my presentation is the required communications as your independent auditor. On this slide here, I'm going to list the responsibilities of us as the audit firm and also management. We're mainly responsible for providing an opinion on the financial statements, whether they're fairly stated in accordance with US GAAP, to evaluate internal control over financial reporting, to evaluate compliance with laws and regulations and contracts, to ensure that the financial statements are clear and transparent, and to communicate with the governing body. Management have responsibilities in this process. So management is responsible for the financial statements. Even when we certify the numbers, it does not relieve management from its responsibility. Management is also responsible to establish and maintain internal control over financial reporting, make all financial records available to us, establish internal control to prevent and detect fraud, inform us of any known and suspected fraud, comply with laws and regulations, and take corrective action on any audit findings. As far as our independence, we are solely responsible for maintaining our independence, and we follow the AICPA rules and the California Board of Accountancy rules. And other than preparing the financial statements on behalf of the authority, there were no other services that could affect our independence. Because the financial statements preparation is a service that does impair independence, we have an independent reviewer who's not involved in the audit. The role is to review the financial statements, and that meet the required independence from the AICPA and the Board of Accountants. As far as timing of the audit, I know that this was mentioned earlier, that it was not within the time frame originally communicated to the authority in our engagement letters. I am no longer the partner. There's another partner from our firm who's going to be handling the 2026 audit and 2025. And I agree that my understanding is that the 2025 is ongoing, and the plan is to get caught up with 2026 and have it issued timely. As far as significant accounting policies and unusual transactions, so there was one new accounting standards that was implemented during the fiscal year, CASB 100. And I'm pleased to say that we encountered no difficulties during the audit. I mean, obviously the delay is delay, but like we had no difficulties working with management or asking questions when we had questions. It was just the delay in receiving the information and in wrapping up the audit. As far as significant audit adjustments and unadjusted differences, so we actually had no significant audit adjustments. So at the end of the day, the numbers were for the most part accurate, and there were no significant adjustments needed. And as far as deficiencies in internal control, we identified no material weaknesses in internal control, but obviously the delay in the financial statements is a deficiency by itself. And then finally here, just a summary of the new accounting standards that are coming your way. So in fiscal year 25, which is ongoing right now, there will be one new standard regarding vacation and sick leave liabilities and how they should be accounted for. In 2026, there will be two new standards. One of them is making some changes to the financial statements, statement number 103. And then finally, in 2027, another standard regarding subsequent event disclosures. Obviously, I don't want to get into too technical details here, but I'm happy to answer any questions regarding those standards. Normally, what we do is we host an annual seminar where we invite our clients. We discuss in depth those standards and what our clients need to do to be ready for them. And then obviously through meetings also with management, we discuss them and we work with them on implementing those standards. With that, I want to say thank you for allowing us the opportunity. I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here.
Okay, this is the time to ask any questions or make any comments. Are there any questions or comments on the audit? Okay, so now I'll ask for public comment. Are there any members of the public present or online who wish to ask questions about the audit?
I see no hands at this time.
Seeing no hands, our job here is to accept it. There's no action required. So unless the board has anything further they want to discuss, oh, sorry. We have to make a motion to accept it. That's it.
I move we accept the audit for
Thank you. It's moved by
2024.
Director Doney, seconded by Director Kurtz. Okay, so roll call, please.
I'm sorry, was it Director Kurtz with a second or Director McMillan? Director
Kurtz.
Kurtz. Okay, great. And so that was a motion by Director Rodoni with a second from Director Kurtz to approve the, to accept the fiscal year 23-24 audit. My apologies, let me just pull up my roll tracking here. And just go in order of member agency, starting with Director Jones,
Aye.
Director Kurtz,
Aye.
Director Way,
Yes.
Director Rodoni,
Yes.
Director Evergettis,
Aye.
Director Shea,
Aye.
Director Finn, Director Hilliard, Director Casissa, Director Kohler.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Did you call my name?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I'm
Director Kohler.
sorry, yes.
Director McMillan,
Yes.
Director Schlesinger. And motion passes with unanimous vote.
Thank you. Okay. Moving on to item 7B.
Thank you, Mr. Bogdawi.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Very thorough, very understandable and progressive disclosure that I could understand. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. So now we're on to item 7B, Defensible Space Alliance Seasonal Wildfire Inspector Squad Leader position. But it looks as though it's more than one. Is that right?
Correct. It would be the creation of the position description and then giving me the authority to hire between 3 to 5 squad leaders. So give you a little bit of background, just as a reminder, as the Defensible Space Alliance member agencies are all the agencies within the central, southern, and west zones. But then County Fire always has to throw a little bit of a hitch in the giddy up that wherever there's a pocket of County Fire jurisdiction, like CSA 19 and CSA 13, then they're also part of the D-Space Alliance as well. As of 2 years ago, Marin Wildfire created the Senior Wildfire Mitigation Specialist position. Those are the people that provide the supervision for the D-Space Alliance. They are employed by Marin Wildfire. The invoicing process of the D-Space Alliance to our member agencies filters into Marin Wildfire's budget to pay for those positions. Marin County Fire employs the 30 inspectors or sometimes even more inspectors that the D-Space Alliance uses. There's an agreement between Marin Wildfire, Marin County Fire, and the member agencies of the Alliance on how the supervision happens within for those 30 employees that are actually County Fire employees. But if you start doing the math and you have 2 senior WIMs and 30 employees, it gives you a 15-to-1 supervisor to employee or employee to supervisor ratio. And that's not a recipe for success. And so when the D-Space Alliance looked at it and, with the realization that these 30 inspectors are scattered throughout the county in the field, interacting with so many of our residents, 30,000 inspections a year countywide, 20,000 within the D-Space Alliance, we felt that the D-Space team and Marin Wildfire staff supported the idea that we need something in between the senior WIMs and the inspectors, and that would be a squad leader type position. So we worked with the member agencies of the D-Space Alliance to create the position description that you have in front of you. It's to provide that next level of accountability for the folks that are in the field. And one thing I did not make clear in my staff report, we are not looking to add the number of personnel that would be employed by the D-Space Alliance. Rather, we would be converting some of the existing employees to the position of squad leader. That includes a 5% raise. So if you look at the total annual budget, and I'm sorry I did not include this in my staff report, it's about $10,000 a year out of a $1.4 million budget for the Run to D-Space Alliance. So it's not a huge financial lift in order to create the supervision that we feel that we need to be successful out in the field. And the employees would be extra hire, seasonal employees employed by Marin Wildfire. You may ask why employed by Marin Wildfire rather than by the County of Marin. Part of it is that there currently is no position description within county government that would meet the needs for a squad leader. And quite frankly, we're a little bit more nimble than the County of Marin. Not a criticism of the County of Marin, but County of Marin is a much bigger organization. A little bit easier for us to create the position description and get the approval. Plus, there might be a day where the County of Marin says, we're out of the business of providing Marin Wildfire their inspectors, and we might have to at some point be the employment agency for the inspector corps. So we've been taking baby steps towards bringing some of the staff from Marin County Fire over to Marin Wildfire, the senior WIMS being an example, and then the squad leaders would be the second example. We kind of included a range of how many squad leaders we would need. Right now, we think it's going to land on 4, but it might be 3, but it might be 5. So that's why we included the range in the staff report. And with that, I'll take questions.
Okay, members of the board, any questions? Director Kohler?
Yeah, I want to thank you. I had provided some feedback. My concern was when I read this, I thought we were adding 5 new squad leaders, and the Defensible Space Alliance are not folks that understand how much money we get. So my concern was that we get pass-through money for D-Space and we pretty much use it all up. And my concern was that we were going to be adding on to that, and went back and forth with Mark, which was very kind of him. And he explained what he just explained. We're not adding new staff, we're giving a 5% bump. So I think in the future where we start looking at programs that in fact impact money that the locals get, some of us don't get very much, it really is a good idea to check with the ops committee, even though I realize they have a different role, to make sure that they're comfortable with financial allocations. But I want to thank you for explaining that in your staff report. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Director Kohler. Anyone else? No thoughts, no feedback?
I
Okay.
guess I would like to make a comment.
Director Evergettis? Yeah.
We take 5 squad leaders and then actually we're reducing the amount of inspectors that are running around.
They'll still be performing inspection duties as well. They'll just have a little bit extra duties added on to the inspections that they're performing.
Any other questions? Okay, I'll now take public comment on this item. Are there any members of the public present or online who wish to make a comment on Defensible Space Alliance Seasonal Wildfire Inspector Squad Leader position?
There are no hands at this time.
Okay, seeing no other comments, we need a motion to approve the creation of the squad leader position with the attached position description and authorize the executive officer to begin recruiting and to appoint up to 3 to 5, as you said, squad leader positions. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Oh, moved by Director McMillan,
Second.
seconded by Director Kohler. Roll call, please.
Absolutely. Starting with Director Jones,
Aye.
Director Kurtz,
Aye.
Director Way,
Yes.
Director Rodoni,
Aye.
Director Evergettis, Director Shea,
Aye.
Director Finn, Director Hilliard,
Aye.
Director Casissa,
Yes.
Director Kohler,
Yes.
Director McMillan,
Yes.
Director Schlesinger. Motion passes with unanimous vote.
Thank you. Motion passes. Okay, on to item 8, staff reports. Finance report from Marin Wildfire Prevention Authority. A member of the Southern Marin Fire District's finance team will present this report. Who will it be, Mark?
It'll be Karen, who's on screen.
Hi, Karen, welcome.
Thanks. So before I was asked to be very quick today. I know you have a full agenda. And we have our monthly report, our financial report. Now, this is through the end of April, so April 30th. It's 83% of the projected budget, and we are at about 66%. I'd like to remind you that this is a preliminary. We still have not received the final statement from the county to finalize this. So these numbers can change after we receive that report. They said they should have it to us next week sometime. For total administrative costs for fiscal year 26, those are at 54% of the allocated admin budget, and the core program is at 75%. Are there any questions or comments?
Directors, any questions or comments? So we are under what we are supposed to be at, so in both cases.
Yes.
Great.
Which
Okay.
which is great news for the administration. Obviously, we want to keep the administration, but when it comes to our core budget, our goal is to max out the spending of our core budget because our taxpayers want us to take action with that money, not sit on that money. However, being 66% of our core budget through 83% of the fiscal year is normal for us because what happens is that we get a large bolus of large invoices right about now, and that's when we catch up and get match up with the numbers.
Thank you for that explanation.
Catherine?
Yes,
Just a
ahead.
quick question, because I'm looking at the preliminary balance sheet. There's 82,000, it looks like, in credit cards.
So those credit cards get dispersed out with the into the appropriate expense accounts.
Okay. So it's not like it's out.
So we're waiting for the all the data to disperse that out to the appropriate accounts.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
So
Mhm.
if you're wondering, what do you use the credit cards for?
Well, some of our subscriptions for like our Google platform, all of our web balance stuff like that is based on the way that the subscriber works. We have to have it on a credit card, so that drives a lot of subscription costs. And then some of the billing that we have to, or the invoicing and purchasing that we have to do within the DSpace Alliance lands with a lot of on the credit cards, and then they're invoiced through the DSpace Alliance.
Thank you. Okay. Any other comment? Yes, Director Way.
Hi, we have a lot of vehicles, and so I'm curious why fuel, where the fuel line item is, or do we cover fuel?
So the vast majority of our vehicles are with the DSpace Alliance, and they're all either all electric or hybrid. So the gas costs are very low, and then Marin Wildfire's vehicles are all electric.
Fantastic. Thank you. So
Good
much
for
for the
us.
creative.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? I will now take public comment on this item. Are there any members of the public present or online who wish to make a comment on the financial report?
I see no hands at this time.
Okay, seeing no, let's go back to the board, and no action is required on this. Thank you so much, Karen, for the report.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're on to item B, which is work plan development update. Planning and Program Manager Ann Krelock will provide the board with the staff report on this item. Ann.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. So this will be a work plan implementation update. And want to start off by letting you know that we are hosting another field trip next week. I mentioned it previously, but we're still trying to finalize a date and time. We're going to be hosting folks next week on Friday at 11 a.m. And these are the details. I sent out an email earlier today with some information. No RSVPs required. Just try to carpool if you can, so we don't fill up the parking lot. But we'll be meeting at the Tennyson Swim Club at 50 Underhill Road. And there will be facilities there, bathrooms there that we can use, and access to the facility. And then we'll go off and walk, and we'll see what the weather is like. It could be anything. So if you join us, please make sure to bring layers, maybe a hat, maybe water, and plan on walking on uneven ground. But we're looking forward to taking a look at the Greater Mill Valley Fuel Break. We're working with Southern Marin Fire to host that field trip and the Ecologically Sound Practices Partnership. So we're looking forward to bringing people out to a project site. Just a few updates. These are in the staff report as well, but the inspection program is very busy. They're doing about 1,000 to 1,200 inspections per week and have completed somewhere over 3,800 inspections so far. The D-Space Academy folks, the new staff completed their academy. In the grant program, we've got a lot of grants underway or completed and a transition plan in order to figure out who's going to be managing those grants once Josh Hampshire, our grant specialist, moves on to grad school. In the chipper program, work is well underway again. 1,800 chipper pickups complete, and I think they're headed to West Marin next. I want to spend just a moment to highlight the Ember Ready program, and we've got Kathleen here. I just want to let you know how much is going on in this program. We've got 3 pilot programs, pilot projects underway. So each of them include a lot of partnerships. So I've listed a lot of partners under Pilot 1, but each partner or each program, each project, excuse me, includes a lot of partnerships. And Kathleen and Joe are coordinating all of this work. So, for example, in Marin City, an HOA in Marin City, they're working on Zone 0 vegetation removal at no cost to those residents. Southern Marin Fire is providing direct assistance funds. Marin County Fire's biologist, formerly from Marin County Parks, is doing nesting bird surveys for us. We've got our own chipper program providing services, chipping services. Fire Safe Marin is helping with Firewise, the Firewise process for this community. Our contractor is Forrester and Kroger. And then you can skip that bullet, which duplicated itself. A second pilot project is taking place in Marin View. This is a vent replacement project. So staff is coordinating discounts for the materials and contractor work and some public education. A third location is in Inverness and a Firewise site there, and helping residents tackle the last items on their to-do list in order to get off the FAIR plan and onto private insurance. So very exciting. More activities coming. San Rafael, for example, working with San Rafael, unincorporated San Rafael, on juniper and Italian cypress removal. In Central Marin, East Corte Madera, a vent replacement project that includes other activities as well, with the goal of expanding the Firewise communities there. So the Ember Ready program's also looking for CAL FIRE grant dollars to help expand and grow this program. So wanted to let you know about all the great things going on there. I also want to point you towards a page on our website because of activities that are taking place through the federal government and other places in California, not here. The term like the herbicide glyphosate is coming up a lot in a lot of the kind of environmental community here in Marin and elsewhere. And so I wanted to let you know that we created a statement on herbicide use and put that on our website. So if you get questions from the public about what herbicides we're using and how we're using them, we have information on our website. So I wanted to make sure that you were aware of that. So if you go to the home page and then go to the far right tab, resident info, and go down to environmental considerations, there are a few things there for you to be aware of. We've got a little information about best practices, about our vegetation management activities, a link to the Ecologically Sound Practices Partnership webpage, the Ecologically Sound Practices guidelines, our project design and implementation features. And then if you go down, there's information about what vegetation is typically removed, how do we do it, and then there's a note about herbicides, and I just want to point you towards that. So while most of our vegetation management activities do not include the use of herbicides, some do. It can be a useful tool when working with, say, eucalyptus or broom or black acacia, things that are very aggressive non-native species. So typically what's done is the herbicide triclopyr, which is Garlon 4 Ultra, is dabbed onto, say, a cut stump for a eucalyptus tree. So it would be a fresh cut There might be a wand with a thing called a dauber at the end, and it looks like it might be spraying, but it's not. It's dabbing herbicide onto the cut tree trunk, and that helps reduce the aggressive resprouting of things like eucalyptus trees. So for example, in a recent project in Bolinas, stump grinding of these eucalyptus trees that were recently cut was not feasible because that would damage the roots of the neighboring trees and possibly cause more hazard trees. So the team dabbed triclopyr on the stumps in order to reduce regrowth after the trees were thinned. A social media post out there stated that, you know, we were spraying glyphosate in Bolinas, et cetera, which was not occurring at all. But triclopyr, which is non-carcinogenic, it's not dangerous for bees, it's not dangerous for birds or mammals. It has a short half-life that was used and dabbed onto the cut stumps. So we attended a public meeting last night, Panorama and myself, just to help clear the air, make sure to answer questions, et cetera. And I wanted to make sure that you were aware of this language on our website. So that's it for me. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. Director Kohler.
Really a question. I just wanted to give you some positive feedback on some work that was done with Measure C money in San Anselmo in Sorich Park. You probably know that there's a very vocal person against some of the goat grazing work. And Jonathan Braun, who's the co-chair of the Open Space Committee, told me that there was just goat grazing in Sorich Park, which I'm sure Yoav knows about, but that it was excellent. They did things to protect the trees from girdling. They moved them a lot. So it's probably, I'm going to connect our folks because, as you know, we have big goat grazing on the Wall property next year. But just want to give some positive feedback there because we've heard a lot of negativity, and it's really good to hear that that may be a model project where there are concerns about maybe leaving goats too long and then they start girdling the trees. So just want to say thank you. And I'm sure you provided some feedback to that project, and maybe not, but I think you did.
Great. Thank you very much.
Any other questions or comments? I did see goats all over the hill in Tam Valley. I don't know why. Maybe they just got loose for some.
I couldn't tell you. I don't think that's our project.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Okay. So now I'll take public comment on this item. Are there any members of the public present or online who wish to make a comment?
I see no hands at this time.
Okay, seeing none, then we do not need to take an action. Just to thank you very much. It's always amazing how much progress we make from month to month. Thank you so much. Okay, now we're on to item 9, committee reports. The first one is Fire Safe Marin Education and Outreach. And I believe, Chief Tyler, you're going to present this item?
That is correct. Thank you so much. Let me just go ahead and get this up in the proper view. There we go. So first, I just wanted to share with you that the new Firewise community that's in San Rafael is called Baywood Terrace HOA. The other one in Ross was Lagunitas Road, Ross. And the one in Ross was 300 homes. The one in San Rafael was 13, just for comparison of size. So we've submitted our monthly report to you, as we always do. It's always in arrears, so it's the monthly information. But I did have a couple of highlights I just wanted to share with you before I conclude. So with regards to May outcomes, and this is based on Wildfire Preparedness Month and all of the different activities, including the forum that we all attended that was successful. There was also a large outreach campaign that we did with all of the fire agencies focused around wildfire preparedness actions that people can take for Wildfire Preparedness Month.
And that led to over 1.8 million impressions. That means basically eyeballs or sets of eyeballs on the materials that go out. So it's quite a large amount. We organized and drove attendance to the CWPP May 2nd event and also engaged with over 600 residents at 5 separate community events. It also resulted in 22,000 website users connecting to the wildfire safety information, and that is a 67% increase over the prior month. It also led to 112,000 views of the 8 reduce the risk videos, which is a 543% increase. Again, the engagement of 600 residents in two-way conversations about wildfire preparedness. And then there was an increase in public inquiries about reports and home hardening topics. And so that's just one example of how our media campaign spend drives attention and drives actions. For June, the activities that are underway, there's also a multimedia campaign under Open Your Wildfire Risk Report. This is to coincide with all of the assessments that are being done by the Alliance and other agencies right now. The elements of that are print ads, digital, video, outdoor, e-blast, social media, newsletter articles, and in-person events. The target audiences are both in English and Spanish. There's custom branding that was made available again to all of the fire agencies to use, and that is with just their logo on, using the shared information as well as shared logos, and they got to choose which ones they wanted to use. There was also information directly out to contractors, realtors, landscapers, homeowners, and home improvement. And it wasn't just using the old campaign and rerunning it. Remember, we have new metrics that are going to take effect beginning in July. And so what we did was we made sure that that Open Your Wildfire Risk Report had embedded messaging around resolving findings, also walking with your inspector, that sort of thing. And so those are very targeted things that are tied to the metrics. So we're hoping to see an increase in those activities, and we'll be able to report out on those later. What's ahead? Very excited about our contractor retrofitting for wildfire training. That is a pilot, asynchronous online training that's available to contractors here in Marin County. So we are going to do a presentation to the full board in July. On next Wednesday, June 24th, we're presenting in front of the Marin Association of Builders, and they are going to be supplying us with the first cohort of contractors to run through that training. We anticipate around 50 people to go through initially, doing the surveys and the back, feedback to us, making final adjustments to the program before it gets launched further. This was a program that was funded largely under the Marin Community Foundation. That grant occurred at the same time as the Ember Ready grant was proposed by MWPA, and the two will be working together with regards to contract work, home hardening, and Zone Zero. So that's the timing of that. We still have another year on that grant to complete that, and so we're taking our time to making sure that this is a really excellent product that will benefit not only the contractor's knowledge, but then also they can bring that to every conversation that they have with homeowners on their retrofitting for wildfire. So we hope that eventually this will improve both the survivability and insurability of the structures, filling this important information gap. And also I just wanted to add that training is being provided by Steve Quarles, who is an incredible resource to this county and an expert in that field. I also wanted just to let you know that we are functioning as a part of a NFPA pilot for neuroscience and communications with our Firewise teams. I don't know if you recall, about a year ago in our newsletter, we had done an interview based on Erica Pang and some work that she'd done at Stanford, using neuroscience and the understanding of the fight, flight, freeze response that people have, and understanding that a lot of times when we're asking people to make this change to their homes, there's this resistance that's often subconscious. And so some of her work and study is at trying to break down those barriers to co-regulate and share empathy with people in such a way that it will get them to go ahead and do that work. And so there's some amazing work that she's already done and be able to demonstrate. We provided articles and information on that. It was picked up by NFPA and Mary Steinberg, who's the director of their wildfire program. Mary reached out and contacted her. They talked about developing a potential program for Firewise, and we've been involved in that process and those discussions. And they came to us and said, would your Firewise communities consider being the first to pilot that? And so we are going to begin doing that in mid-July. It is 4 3-hour sessions, and we've so far got about 17 to 20 Firewise leaders that are going to that have signed up and committed to that 4 3-hour sessions. And so we're really excited to be included in that pilot, and we'll see where that progresses from there. And then lastly, what's new is the annual report. We're putting that together, and you'll be able to see that in early fall. That's the end of my report.
Comments, questions? Director Kohler.
Sorry, I seem to be asking too much. Thank you, Chief Tyler. Just a couple of questions. I read your report, as I always do, and noticed that of the, at the time, 91 Firewise communities, very few are engaged. And I know when you talked to us last month or the month before, when you presented some of what you want to do to kind of kick that forward, because we can have 93, but if they're not engaged, not so meaningful. So I'm hoping in future reports, you can talk more about what what Fire Safe Marin is doing to kick that up a notch. We don't need people, a lot of people got engaged and created Firewise communities when the fires were happening, and we all get, complacent, right? So not today. Maybe this neuroscience work is something that'll get people more engaged, but I'm just hoping you can highlight that because I think that's great. The other thing I wanted to ask you is I worked for the Bay Area Air Quality Management District for a number of years, and one of the things we did was looking at surveys of our communities for understanding what languages we needed to translate to. And maybe we were over 9 Bay Area counties, so different. But I'm wondering if you all have ever looked to see, are there any more predominant communities here in Marin that we need to reach out to in other languages? I mean, Spanish, obviously, we know that's great, but is that something that you're looking at as well?
So all of the materials that we have, our first primary push was for both English and Spanish. And so we've largely accomplished that. The website that we have is set up so that it can translate into other languages, but independent items, not so much. And so one of the things that's interesting that I think is going to take some policy discussion, possibly by this board, is the use and integration of AI into that translation. So we have successfully tested some of our videos, for example, where it's an English, non-Spanish speaking, but English speaking person. We can produce those videos where they are speaking Spanish in their voice, moving their lips, and it tracks in Spanish that has been translated through a translate resource team, so we know they're matching and saying the correct thing. And so we know that we have the technology to be able to do that. And it's just, I think, a broader discussion around, transparency, trust, how much materials do we want to push out in other languages like that? And then there's also then just additional cost. If we want to, select, and I would say if you as a board decide that you'd like to have, 4 languages at a certain level, we would certainly put the effort forward to do that.
I think I would ask that Fire Safe Marin first look. I mean, I think that's all good, but look to see, are there other predominant languages in Marin? There may not be. I mean, in at the Bay Area Air District, we found 5. Well, we were in all kinds of counties, so it's different. We may not have other predominant languages. I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of people that speak other languages, but they may not be predominant enough to focus on that. So I think if that's something you guys can look into, and maybe the answer is no, and then your other higher level thing is, do we want to start using AI for at least Spanish translation on some of these key items? It's certainly a really worthy discussion. So really appreciate it. Thank
Yeah,
you.
you bet. And I do want to address your concerns about the Firewise communities and the lack of participation. I mean, I would share that I find them to be quite engaged, certainly at the leadership level. And so we have monthly meetings with the leadership. There routinely are 60 or more leaders that are present and engaged. And there are, within the individual neighborhoods, some of them are doing work that doesn't get reported. They may be doing vegetation projects and things that aren't completely captured. And so part of our efforts are going to be taking a deeper dive into supporting those leaders to be able to pull out that information. I think that there is a tremendous amount of work that's being done. We know from looking at volume of vegetation, for example, that's being removed during chipper days, that there's 30% more volume coming out of Firewise neighborhoods than there are in non-Firewise neighborhoods, for example. So I would say somebody is doing work and that they are at a higher rate than a non-Firewise neighborhood. And I think that's significant and substantial. We know that Firewise communities are opening their reports 30% more time open rate, that there is also a 30% greater likelihood that they will correct any of the more discoveries than non-Firewise neighborhoods. So I know that I just wanted to address this because I didn't want to have everyone hear that it seems like that it's not really something that's working, and it is working. That's my opinion.
Well, I just would suggest to you in your report where under each area you say how many are engaged. Maybe that's inaccurate information because that's what I'm reading. It's in your report where it says Central Marin, these many communities, Firewise communities, and it'll say 5 engaged, something like that. So that may be a piece that shouldn't be included if that's not correct.
I think what that is that's when Stu, who coordinates that program, goes out and has specific contacts and engagements with that particular neighborhood. So these are contacts that have follow through, and we just keep track of those.
Okay, well, thank you.
Okay. Catherine, Director Way.
So to the language question, OEM, Office of Emergency Management, has done all that analysis already, so it's available. They've looked at what languages, because Alert Marin has to be compatible with the other languages, so it's Vietnamese and Tagalog and Farsi, so all that's available. Second thing is, could you provide me the reference again of the neuroscience of communications, who that?
It's Erica Peng, Peng. She gave a 1-hour lecture at Stanford that was recorded.
Okay.
She is a lecturer at UC Berkeley.
Okay, thank you. I want to look it up.
Yeah.
Director Finn.
Chief Tyler, can a Firewise community lose its certification due to inactivity or complacency?
Yes, it can.
And is it a one-time certification or does it need to be renewed?
Annual renewals.
Annual renewal.
Yeah.
So that compels engagement, or
That's
you're
right.
going to lose the status.
That's right.
Just to follow up on the little statistical anomaly I noticed earlier, that Marin County, according to the state numbers, has 6.2% of all the Firewise communities in the state. I was just noodling around. If Marin County has 251,000 population in a state population of 39.5 million, then Marin only represents 0.62% of the state's population. That's not a valid proxy population, but it shows that we're punching above our weight by a factor of 10.
Yes, Director McMillan.
And I did want to say that I usually attend those Firewise leader meetings on Fridays, and it's 2 or 3 screens of, tiles of people, and people are very engaged. I think a lot of us have a habit of communicating just with facts and statistics. And I think it's really going to be very insightful to have Erica help us, coach us, teach us how to better communicate and show empathy and weave our personal stories into motivating residents. There's a master gardener who is signed up to take that class. She's also a Firewise leader. So I think this is going to have several applications. And I wish I had the time to do the training myself, but I don't. So maybe there can be notes published afterwards to share.
Okay, other comments? Yes, Director Yo.
So in exactly the opposite direction from Julie, I'm going to ask about some statistics. I'm really actually kind of curious about breaking out some of the numbers on website, newsletter, YouTube, social media, et cetera, because I find sometimes actual engagement gets buried in the reach as opposed to engagement. So for example, I think you showed 1.8 million impressions, if that was the number, which is useful because that means you're getting it pushed to people's feeds, but it doesn't actually represent engagement with that content. If I scroll right past it, that's still an impression, right? So when reporting, this is just an ask for the future on social media, engagement, website, or newsletter, understanding, reach, meaning how many people are subscribed to this thing, right? How many people subscribed to the newsletter, how many people opened the newsletter, and then how many people engaged with the content in the newsletter, right? So for example, here we have 83,000 in the last year engaged with the newsletter. But is that repeat users? What's the total body of the number of people subscribed in the newsletter? I think you understand what I'm sort of trying to understand. And the same with views of videos. So depending on the platform, a YouTube short that's 30 seconds counts as a view the minute it begins, even if I don't watch it.
That's right.
If it's longer than 30 seconds, I need to watch it for 30 seconds to count as a view. So the number of views reported matters on the form and format of the video and the length of it. Same with TikTok. The minute it starts counts as a view, as opposed to Facebook or Instagram, where 3 seconds creates a view, right? So all of these things are very dependent on the platform. And again, about in terms of reach versus actual engagement. So it would be interesting to me. I don't know if it's interesting to anybody else, but it's interesting to me to think about the difference between those things when it comes to the digital outreach strategy.
Yeah, and we track all of that. We used to publish in our monthly reports, several of the graphs that you would be able to get through and see exactly that kind of information. And I'm happy to send that to you directly. It's very easy for us to pull. If you want to come in, we can have a conversation about it too. Yeah, you bet.
Okay, I would just like to say that I really appreciate your advertising program. I was in Sausalito and I was about to make a right turn when the bus on the right side of me turned in front of me, and there it was, open your report, right on the side of the bus. So that was really good. The other thing is, I'm still getting a tremendous amount of urging from my local residents about getting off the FAIR plan. Apparently, the FAIR plan is announced a huge increase in their, coming up. And so everything that we're doing to help with getting them off the FAIR plan to Mercury or whatever carrier will be really helpful, because it's really the unfair plan. It's so expensive. I don't know how people can, and they can't not have insurance. So that's desperation. Go ahead.
We're teeing up a large push out through the Firewise communities, because they are the perfect audience to hear. But Mercury is prepared to start working throughout the entire county in the same way that we have been succeeding in Inverness. So stay tuned for more information. And I really do believe the model of Mercury blazing the trail in the Marin is going to create the incentivization for other insurers to follow them. I'm convinced that'll work.
Great. Thank you, Chief. And are there any other comments or questions?
Mark, you said, I think at the last meeting, that CSAA was knocking on your door to try to do pilots. Is that happening?
they have to work through some internal decision-making, whether or not they want to have similar standards to Mercury, but they are having conversations internally for that.
Excellent, thank you.
And one last comment on the Firewise community. So our Tam Valley is ripping. We have, gosh, I'm trying to remember his name all of a sudden. Jim Casper is, so, and it's to the point where we know each other through that community. So somebody delivered a pizza to the wrong house that was meant for me, and they knew through the Firewise community where to deliver it. So that just to let you know that some of it really works. I'm not trying to be, it's true. I mean, it's a community.
Did they take a piece out for payment?
Yeah, it was funny. Yeah. No. Anyway, thank you so much for your report and your work. And are there any other questions or comments? Are there any public comments?
I see no hands at this time.
Okay, thank you. Then we'll move on to item 10, information items. The first one, A, is postponed until the next executive committee meeting. So item B is board president and vice president letters of interest.
And I'll, every year, even though this is the only board I have to worry about the transition, each year I have to re-educate myself how the transition happens. And then you are all on different boards and councils, and probably not just your own board and council, you're on other ones, and the transition's different. So let me walk through the process, and so we're all on the same page. In May, that's when I start asking, hey, do we have people interested in president and vice president? I need to receive a letter by June. Now we have our two letters. We have a letter from Director Kohler and a letter from Director Rodoni. Today would be the opportunity for them to expand upon or say, my letter speaks for itself, or do you have any questions for me? And then what the language is our first meeting of the new fiscal year is when we have the election. So that's the process. So today is, you've seen the letters from Directors Kohler and Rodoni. It's opportunity for you to ask them any questions before we go into next month. As a reminder, though, just because someone did not submit a letter this time does not mean that we do not allow a nomination from a floor. We can still have a nomination from a floor. We have that parameter built in, but we've just never exercised that as a board.
So I would like to ask the two people who sent letters of interest if they would like to expand or describe what their reasoning is for wanting to become president. Do you want to go? Okay, Director Kohler.
First, okay. So I think some of you read my letters, and I'll just expand a little bit, or maybe some of it's repeating. So I've served as a member of MWPA board since day one, also served on the campaign to ensure the passage of Measure C. And as an alternate for executive committee now, of course, I'm on that. I'm honored to be a member of this board, and I'm pleased that I, along with all board members and other stakeholders and staff, have helped you, Mark, lead this agency through its early days to be fully mature with cutting-edge approaches for wildfire prevention in our county and potentially beyond. I'm proud that we have done so using science and environmentally sound practices to do so. In the early days prior to Mark's hire, when Chief Weber was juggling serving as our EO and as Marin County and Ross Valley Fire Chiefs, I quietly suggested to him and our then President Goins that we hire Jean Bonander as our interim EO to alleviate the workload. He wasn't concerned about that. In fact, they brought her on immediately, and Jean helped us continue on until Mark's hire was well loved and continues to assist the board as needed for certain tasks. I'm a trained scientist with significant experience with environmental matters and climate change, which may provide a unique perspective for some of the issues we face. And as president, some of the things I'd like to do is assist our board and staff in implementing Zone Zero throughout our member jurisdictions. And obviously, education is key to successful implementation, including now what we've heard, this neuroscience piece. It's a big challenge. Obviously, we know a lot of people love their landscaping. Continue to advocate for resident grants for D-space and home hardening. I'd like to also see when we start presenting that, as well as our Chipper Day work, that we have some members that are doing their own work in their areas. And rather than presenting only what Marin Wildfire is doing, I'd like to see a holistic view. People need to understand it's much broader than just this authority. And so I'd like to see that. And continuing to advocate for shaded fuel breaks and evacuation route clearing, and continue to ensure we do things using sound science, environmentally sound practices, be fiscally responsible and cost effective within the bounds of Measure C, providing constructive feedback on projects and practices and questions where appropriate, providing clear guidance and transparency in our actions, and continuing to encourage innovation, supporting all of us in our many committees, and work towards the renewal of Measure C aside from our board work to keep political campaigning separate. And I just want to say, there's more, but I'm not going to go into it. But in Fairfax, one of the things I started small was, since 2006, no mayor had ever convened our Citizens Disaster Committee. And I was the first one, encouraged other vice mayors to take it on. Only the mayor can do it. So I started out small, just updating our emergency operation plan. Then I called for something. We had Todd Lando and Michael St. John, who leads search and rescue on our committee. Next year, I called for, let's create these community-friendly evacuation maps. Don't be counting on the police to knock on your door and get you out, so we could use our own maps. And they said, no, we can't do that. Well, they did. And they found the professor in Irvine who'd done tsunami maps for Laguna Beach, similar to us, one way in, one way out. And they worked with her and coordinated with Chief Tyler at the time with Nevada. So the first fire clear maps were done for Fairfax, and it was my dream that everyone told me couldn't be done. So, and most of our Marin Wildfire jurisdictions have them now. So that was a big deal. I will say that my pushing for subsequent mayors, the last couple of mayors have also convened our Citizens Disaster Council. So I'm on our Firewise community. I have to be honest, I'm not active, but one of my best friends is our leader. So I just want to say, I appreciate the opportunity to continue serving on this board in any role. It's a pleasure. We do great work. And thank you for considering me for board president. I want to say that I've been honored to work with Catherine, who's done an amazing job leading this agency. And she's been here since day one, too.
Yeah.
So thank you all.
Thank you so much. That was very comprehensive. Thank you. Supervisor Rodoni.
Yeah, thank you. My letter lays out my priorities, but I also just want to thank all the board members for considering me for leadership again. Usually I like to not take leadership a second time. I like to open up opportunities for others to take leadership roles, but this is a real crucial time for this organization, and I really want to focus on getting the measure renewed in these next couple of years, and I think it's important that someone takes the leadership role and does that. I want to thank Director Goins, who also wanted to step in at this time, again, for doing the leadership role, and he decided to step back for a year and go for vice president next year, understanding the importance of perhaps having me on the leadership team. As I said, for me, the renewal of Measure C is my priority in the next 2 years, and then I'll gladly step out of leadership, and hopefully some of you will step up. So thank you so much.
Thank you. So thank you for your service, both of you, and all of us. I think this board is outstanding in terms of engagement and doing our part. And I'm just very proud to be the president, I tell you, really. Okay, so I thank you both. And is there anything in addition that we need to say at this time, Mark?
Nope.
Okay, so you heard it. Does anybody have questions of? Okay. Do you want to make a comment?
I'd like to make a comment, yes. it's very commendable to the two of you who are stepping forward. And in every group, it's always difficult sometimes to get people to take the extra step, you know. And in my 90 years, I've done it a few times already, and I'm not the most forward member of the group here, a little laid back, but supporting what I can. But in any way, it's very commendable that people step forward and with such great leadership. And so far, from what I can see, I've almost been here for day one, but not quite. The people that have stepped forward have done an excellent job of taking in all the issues and working with the staff and keeping things moving forward. So it's been a pleasure to be part of the groups.
Thank you for your contribution always. Thank you so much. Anyone else would like to make a comment or have a question? Hearing none, then we'll move on to item 11. Board member requests regarding future agenda items. Does anyone have a recommendation or suggestion for a future agenda item? I think we are postponing the special report until the next executive committee. Do you want to put that on the board agenda as well?
We'll explore that with the exec committee, but we might just rather, the suggestion that we were bouncing around was have just the exec committee review or take the deep dive and then recommend to the board members to watch that video.
Okay, the only other question that I have is Jean Bonander's report on the strategic planning. Is there a date that we're supposed to get together?
The letter that I told you I would be sending out today will outline a lot of the timeline in there.
Oh, great. So that's not necessarily on the next agenda for the board?
Nope.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, did you want to say yes?
If I could make one other request, it'd be very helpful to have the date of the next meeting on our agenda so that we can plan ahead of time. And when we get a notice for the meeting of just a few days, you know, our calendars get full. We anticipate the meeting to come along. It would be nice to see the actual date ahead of time. Like right now, our next meeting is going to be.
Okay, yeah, we absolutely can do that, but our cadence is the third Thursday of each month, but we can easily add that.
I think that would be very helpful.
Yep.
So our next meeting will be July 16, and I will be happy to text that to you as well. Good suggestion.
We'll build that into the template for the agenda.
Thank you so much. All right. Anything else? Well, then we are adjourned, and thank you so much for everybody coming and approving all these important things. So, good.